Salutations, I'm Sarah Fandoms, you're fronting with Wendy, and welcome to today's video. So, if you follow my social media, you know I have a grievance with particularly age regression. I've been going off a lot about them lately, especially with all of the huge amount of misinformation at this point, because before it was just like, oh, regression's little space, when it clearly isn't. But now it's like taking over a bunch of terminology that just doesn't even make sense. So I'd like to talk about, in a calmer sense instead of just crashing out and being mean, regression in general and my grievances with it and my experience with regression. I'll try to be as short as possible, and I don't know how long this video is going to be, so you're just going to have to bear with me. You're going to see me looking off to the side. I have a bunch of cliff notes, but before we get into my cliff notes, I want to start off with my biggest grievance, which is, how come when it's regression, it's okay to cosplay that illness, but when it's anything else, it's not? Without getting mad or being a dick, can you tell me why? If I shave off all my hair, can I say that I have cancer? The correct answer is no. If I have one meltdown and, I don't know, say I call you something really mean, can I suddenly say I have bipolar? No. If I have two different moods one day, can I forever say that I have split personality? If I get suddenly sad, can I suddenly say I have depression? If I'm anxious about heights but nothing else, can I suddenly say that I have an anxiety disorder? I cannot, right? Because that's not how life works. If I have one meltdown, can I say that I have autism? If I have one psychosis, can I forever say I have schizophrenia? I cannot. That is my grievance with regression. How come it's no for all of those, but when it's like something as severe as regression, you guys are like, no, we can cosplay that though, because it's cute. Is it cute, or did you just make it cute? Because no illness is cute. No mental illness is a cute little disorder that I get to turn on and off like the switch of a light. The reality is that regression should be treated as every other medical term. You should not be taking it for any other purpose other than actual real medical help. That is my problem. If I suddenly shave off all my hair and I'm like, I'm constantly coughing, I have cancer, that would take away from people with cancer. If I'm angry one day and I say something heinous and I forever say I have bipolar, that's taking away from people with bipolar, people who actually experience a real disorder. But why is it okay when it's regression? The reality is it's not okay. And as an educator, I know I need to keep my cool, but it's so frustrating to experience real life regression and be told, well, it's just a cute little add-on, I get these passies. That's not what it is, though. That's never been what, and the whole like, well, it's reverting back to a kid, which is what I see all the time. Yeah, not the way that you think. And it's actually not reverting back to a kid. It's reverting back to something. It's not just kid. It's emotional. It's bathroom habits. It's scale regression. It's fine motor regression. All of those things are bad. It's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's not something to celebrate. It's a medical concern. Like, it's a medical concern. And it's not cute. It's not just reverting back to a childlike state. It's a lot deeper than that. And we're going to get into, I think this one I'm just going to talk about my grievances, and I think I'm going to make a part 2 and talk about my experiences with regression. That way I just keep it short and you can watch whatever one you want. Okay, so let me click on my notes real quick. Okay, so I see a lot of people saying that regression has always been a part of the kink community. That is misinformation. It has, I also want to state something. I don't count us all as kink. I count us as a lifestyle. So I hate that word kink because it's not sexual for everyone. That would include yours truly. Despite what you see online, some alters are and some alters aren't. I am not one of them. Middle space, yes. Little space, no. But I see a lot of people who say kink has always used the term regression. That is untrue. Kink has not always used the term regression. As someone who's been here for a long time, as someone who's talked to elders and older folk in the community who used to educate, no. It was always forced regression, which is kind of like using the term master and slave. So master and slave obviously doesn't mean that I'm cosplaying the tragedy of slavery. It's just a random term. It just means that you like to be controlled or be in full control in a very particular setting. Same thing with forced regression. It's a type of hypnosis kink. It doesn't mean what it sounds like it means. It has never been used to refer to AgePlay. AgePlay has always used the word headspace, actually, or little space, or middle space. Middle space has completely been erased because people started thinking that it was sexualizing teenagers, which is wild. Considering that you still have little space, but you're gonna completely remove middle, whatever, that's my own grievance, that doesn't matter. They have never used regression. That has never really been a thing. You have heard, like, forced regression, that was definitely a thing. Regression itself, no go. So a lot of people are saying that they don't think that this should ever be taken away, that there's like nuance to this conversation. In my personal opinion, there is no nuance, because if there's nuance with this medical term, what changes me from pretending to need a wheelchair? Is there nuance to that because I just want to use a wheelchair? Can I just put on a cast and pretend that I can't walk? Can I just pretend to need a cane? Because there should be nuance, right? Like, there should be nuance that I'm allowed to cosplay bipolar then. I'm allowed to pretend that I have severe mental health problems like bipolar. Do you see what I'm saying? There is no nuance to medical terms, honey. I'm gonna get at least one person who's like, don't call me honey. It offends me. I always get someone that like says that, because kid always says like darling and baby and shit, and I'll get like one person in my DMs who are like, don't fucking do that. Like, Jesus Christ. I see a lot of people, they're saying, I experienced real medical regression. These words evolve and change. The problem is that this word has not evolved or changed. It's still the same. You just Googled something and Google said it changed. In the real medical term, in the DSM-5, it has not changed. I see people bring up BPD, bipolar, depression, blah, 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 other diagnosis, and they're like, well, it says the regression, and that means I need pacifiers and lenses. No, it doesn't, because the I always fuck up their name. The DSM-5, I want to call them the DMZ, and I don't know why. The DSM-5 has not changed. It still says the same criteria. Bipolar is an emotional regulation disorder. When it says regression, it doesn't mean that you do little space. It doesn't mean you need bottles. It doesn't mean you need pacifiers. It doesn't mean you need onesies. It means that when you are in go, I call it go mode because I have bipolar. When you're in that space of like, I could fucking hit somebody right now, it's emotional regression. So how you react would not be baby. It would be whenever you were last severely, like, not the last, but the most traumatic part of your life. So for me, mine's 16. And each of my alters have their own, not each of them, but like I know Kit is like more like 5. Mikey, it depends on the situation, what's triggered him. But it's not like I need a pacifier, I need a onesie, I need to be baby. That's not what they mean. What the DSM-5 means is that you are emotionally going back to a different time. Same with BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. It's the same thing. It means emotional regression. It does not mean you are gonna need pacifiers and onesies. That is misinformation spread by random people. And then Google, how Google works is when you look it up, it'll give you the top search. It doesn't give you actual research. You need to go and find actual medical documentaries. You need to go and find actual medical things, which I even have a whole playlist dedicated to medical regression and what it actually looks like. That's there available for you. I have done tons and tons of research. It's hard to find because it's all been replaced by like the online regression community. I put it in quotes because I don't believe that they're regression. Because they're not. They're just cosplaying an illness. Like there's a lot more into this than you guys think. It's not like, yes, it says regression, but it doesn't mean little space. It literally means that you have an emotional reaction as a different age. And it's not all little. It's not all young ages. It's all sorts of ages. Like if you're 45, you could react like a 20-year-old. If you're like 30, you could react like a 10-year-old. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that you're going to fully think that you're that age. You don't think you're that age. When I'm in that mode, I've never thought I was that age. Other people who actually have these diagnoses will tell you they don't think they're that age. They just react like that age. That is it. They know they're fully an adult. They just can't help how they're reacting, which is very different. Regression is not kink. I see it all the time. That regression is not kink. I agree with that. It's not. It has nothing to do with the little community, but it also doesn't belong to online regression either. I am also tired of the push of like, kink doesn't own regression and age play isn't regression. You're all age playing. That's all you're doing, sweetheart. You're doing non-sexual age play, and that's perfectly fine. That's what I do. The one thing that I want to focus on though is kink. Not kink, sorry. Regression is non-sexual. I don't know where you got that information, but that's actually not true. Regression is a huge amount of things. It could be emotional, it could be bathroom habits, could be fine motor skills, could be sexual skills, could be, becoming sex repulsed out of nowhere is actually called sexual regression. So, just so you're aware. But then in DID terms, actually, some of those protectors who are regressors are SA protectors. One of mine included, named Princess. She is known as a regressive state. She can be anywhere from the age of 6 to 25, because in between those ages is when the body unfortunately went through some things. And, she used to be 6 to like 18, but then some stuff happened and it caused her to shift a little bit older. And she is counted as a regressive state. And her entire job is to protect the body from that. And that doesn't always mean fighting back. Sometimes that means submitting and allowing things to happen so other alters don't have to deal with it. That is the biggest thing I see all the time is like, regression is never sexual. That is so untrue, because it, again, just shows you don't know what regression is, because you all think it's just, ooh, baby, I'm innocent, when that's not at all what it means. It has nothing to do with sex or non-sexual. It literally has to do with regressing of skill, mentality, emotional regulation, reverting back to something else. But it's not like, oh, I just think I'm a kid. It's a lot deeper than that. It's something that you don't really get to control, and like these episodes can be very intense and very draining. I know when I experience bipolar regression, I will have no memory of what happened during that time, and someone will have to relay it back to me, because it's like my whole brain just shuts off. Let's see, blah blah blah. Hold on, I'm reading through. Oh yeah, referring to regression as a headspace is perfectly fine. It is not, because again, you're taking away from other things. Like, again, how come you can take a medical term and make it sound cute, but I can't do it with other illnesses? Like, if I suddenly get sad and I say that I have depression, is that fair? No. Actually, adding on to that, though, I would like to add, what was it? Oh, no, I started dissociating. Oh, no. It was there. What was it? If I can say that I have depression, what was it? Give me a second. Symptom triggering. That's what I wanted to talk about. So I see a lot of people that are like, it's a symptom, so should you be triggering those symptoms? Because usually symptoms aren't a good thing, right? So like, symptoms of anxiety is like intense fears, it's obsessive thoughts, it's repetitive behavior with thinking, I was diagnosed with social anxiety, so I don't know what, like, the generalized anxiety is. I only know the social anxiety criteria. Depression is, like, large spouts of sadness that can cause suicidal ideation and things like that, right? So regression is a symptom of very certain things. Can I turn around and be like, well, if regression is a symptom, I should trigger it? No, because a symptom isn't a good thing. A symptom isn't a healthy thing. And although it is a type of coping mechanism that these illnesses use, it doesn't make it a good coping mechanism. Like, DID uses it. It's not a good coping mechanism. As someone who deals with it every fucking day, it's not a good coping mechanism. It's awful. It's god-awful. I don't know why the brain does it. Just because the brain does it doesn't make it a good coping mechanism. Self-harm is a coping mechanism. Starving yourself is a coping mechanism. Which brings me into my next point. If I starve myself for one day, can I say that I'm anorexic? Well, in your logic of reverting back, I would be able to. Because you're like, well, it says to revert back. Well, anorexia says if you starve yourself. So does that automatically mean that I'm anorexic? It's the same conversation. You cannot be co-opting medical terms. You're fucking people more than you think you are. And you really are more than you realize. Like, I have been moved out of my, the household that I was in for, I don't know how long, since May. It is now December. I've been trying to get into a psychiatrist because I have a younger alter who I'll talk to in a different video, or about, not to, about in a different video. And for her, she makes, it's so rare that I say their genders, she makes the brain kind of do this thing where I don't really know what's happening anymore and I don't really remember. And it's bad. It's really bad. To the point that, like, I can't even remember, like, 10 minutes ago if she fronted, which has not always been a problem. This is a new issue. She would kind of make the brain foggy, but it's not the way it is now. But I'll talk about that in the next video. And when I call and I'm looking for help, they don't know what to do with me because they can't tell if it's AgePlay or if it's actually a medical emergency. Because regression can be considered a medical emergency because it can create, like, deadly effects. It doesn't seem deadly until you realize that, like, she will literally put her hand on a hot stove. She'll get into cars with people she doesn't know. But again, we'll go more in depth in that later. Like, they don't know where to put you. And it's not only me that's being fucked over. I have a friend who has been diagnosed with DID since they were 7, and I got permission to talk about this. And even now, like, their therapist has recently left, and they're not their therapist, mostly they're psychiatrists. They're psychiatrists because that's who you deal with when you deal with regression, real regression. You don't go to a therapist, you go to a psychiatrist. It doesn't even know what to do with them because there's so many people flooding the like industry with little space bullshit that no one knows where to put anyone. It's being a lot referred to in the medical community as, like, the TikTok phenomenon, which basically means that people think that they have something when they don't. And that's not saying people are purposely being mean. I don't think you guys are purposely trying to take away from the DID community. But it is an actual problem where people are like, oh, I ticked once, so I have Tourette's. I had one stim, so I have autism. I have one fear, so I have anxiety. And it's like, well, that doesn't really build the criteria for these things. And it's the same thing with regression. Just because you do little space doesn't mean that you have regression. It just means that you have a headspace that you go into. And that headspace can feel very real. But it doesn't mean that you have regression. In my opinion, I should not have to fight people on this. I should not have to scream to the rooftops and educate you why stealing a legitimate medical term is a bad thing. It is a bad thing. Stealing a legitimate medical term is not a good thing. If you took any other medical term, it would be the end of the world. But because it's DID, it's dementia, it's a small part of other things, such as losing fine motor skills or someone being in a car accident can no longer use their arm. It's seen as whatever because it's such a small symptom, but that's not how it should work. The reality is that this illness is very intense, and there's different levels to it, and there's different types to it, none of which would cause the type of regression that you all are claiming to have, except for a very, very select few. I'm tired of bipolar, I'm tired of BPD, I'm tired of PTSD being referred to as, well, this causes regression. Not the way that you're acting like it does. It does not. And when you talk to a medical professional, not Google, not the first page of Google, but a medical professional, and you look into actual medical documents, they will tell you otherwise. I would know this out of all people because I have been in and out of this system since I was very young. I was diagnosed with bipolar very early on in life. It was just under a different name because they can't diagnose you with bipolar until a certain age. So I was diagnosed with overreactive emotional disorder, and then later on that was changed to bipolar. I also have BPD on top of my belt, and I need to be seen for PTSD and DID. But I can't be seen for these things because no one knows where to put me, because this community is pushing that little space is all of these things. Even inner child healing is getting kind of screwed over right now. If you don't know, inner child healing is actually a trauma therapy, and it's no longer being seen as trauma therapy. It's being seen as something completely different. It's being seen as little space when it shouldn't be. Why is it fine to steal this medical term but not other medical terms? I just want you to understand the impact that you are having on the medical community, and I want you to understand that it is not okay in any circumstances to take medical terms and make them your own. That'd be like if I took bipolar and I said, oh, it's just I get a little moody. That's not what bipolar is. You're doing the same thing with regression, whether you want to admit it or not. And I'm not going to argue with people in the comments. I'm tired of arguing. I'm tired of educating, but I'm going to continue to educate because someone has to set the record straight and not just take random things from Tumblr, but take things from real medical documents, take things from real educators, take things from people who actually studied this, people who spend years on these things. The age regression community online has been nothing but a thorn in my fucking ass because they really don't know what they're talking about, and they spread so much misinformation, and this is now being spread like wildfire. Just please remember that when you're taking medical terms, it does have effect on other people, and it's not just a cutesy little term. But I hope this was somewhat informative. In the next video, I'm going to change lighting because my sun went away, but in the next video, I'll talk about my experiences with regression, the things I've gone through, and so on and so forth. But I will see you all in the next one. Stay beautiful.